All right, good morning, everybody. We'll call to order the Tarrant County Election Board meeting for August 26, 2025. And the first item we have on the agenda is approval of the September 10th, 2024 minutes. There should have been a copy in your packet. We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Is that a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, the next item that we have. It's on. The next item that we have here is approval of Clint Ludwig, the Tarrant County Elections Administrator, as responsible for the procurement of election supplies for the November 4th, 2025 joint special and constitutional amendment election per 51.031 of the election code. Do we have a motion to approve me to procure supplies for the November joint special election?
Motion approval.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, question. So last year, I believe it was, I don't believe this is how this was worded. Who worded it this way?
This is the wording we used in 2023, the
It
elections.
is?
It is.
Okay. And this board has, I thought you were automatically the one that procured this stuff.
I am, but the election code requires that the board approve that I
Got
do it.
Okay, got it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. All right, we have two speakers on this item. Oh, I apologize, I had two speakers on this item and we approved before the speakers. What do I need to do?
I would let the speakers come forward and speak and then have, do the motion again.
Okay,
So do we move, I think we move to reconsider.
move to reconsider.
Are you, what is it, what do? We move to reconsider, or we move to withdraw previous approval, which we've done this before? Y'all remember? I move to rescind the previous vote. There.
Second. All those in favor? All right, our two speakers that are signed up, the first one I have here is Chris and Julie Sims. Now, for the speakers, we're going to follow the Commissioner Court in the 3 minutes. So if Chris and Julie Sims,
We actually should be under the public comment. I apologize, signed up under the wrong section.
okay, so public comments, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Is that the two you were referring to?
And then I have Charles Wiedemeyer.
Yes, sir, I signed up under the wrong category also.
All right, so.
I move to rescind our rescension of our rescension. No, so yeah, so we just move, so back to move to approve item 3.
All right, I'll go ahead and second. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carries again. All right, item 4, we have the briefing by me on some of the legislative changes that we were kind enough to receive from the legislature this year. This is by no means an all-encompassing list. Just gonna try to highlight some of the big things that I think will be most noticeable and up front in front of the public. So the first one I've got was Senate Bill 2216, and what this changed is the big thing here was it requires that equipment used in the operation of a voting system during the election be stored in a locked room. So the impact of this one, more so than anywhere, is going to be in early voting, where we have those locations that were just a open common area and were not a separate room. If we were to utilize that space, the early voting staff would be required to tear down and store all of that equipment, then set it up every morning before the election. So they'd have to do that for 12 straight days. So that was Senate Bill 2216. Another one House Bill 1661. This one actually requires the election officer responsible for procuring election supplies to basically purchase or provide a 125% of the number of ballots over the number of individuals that voted in the like election previously. So when it comes to procuring ballot supplies, there now is a minimum number that we have to buy per election. Then House Bill 3546 and 1494, I went ahead and combined these because they were kind of doing the same thing. Just one was specifically for ISDs and the other was for your political subdivisions or cities. And this gives them the opportunity to move their elections to a November uniform election date. So they can move from what is traditionally our May entity election, they can now move to November. Obviously, they have to vote and do procedures, but that is something that can change. House Bill 3425 now makes it a criminal offense to post or disclose the residence address or telephone number of public servants and their families through electronic communication with the intent to cause harm or threat of harm. So I think the term is doxing. That is now a crime when it comes to public servants, not just election officials, but public servants. Then Senate Bill 1540, this expands the list of individuals eligible for confidentiality protection to include current and former election officials, employees, volunteers, designees of an election official, or an employee of the Secretary of State who performs duties related to elections. And so this allows them to submit in writing to have their information held confidential when it comes to the voting records and other addresses and records. And that's quite an extensive list when you look at employee or volunteer or designee of an election. Then House Bill 3909. This one is, the easiest way to explain it is you can use a wireless communication device as you approach the polling location. Once you enter the polling location, you can no longer use it. So to keep it simple for this Marine, it's you can be on your cell phone all the way up until you enter the polling location, and we're required to post a sign, basically no cell phones from here on out. Now that's a wireless communication device. It still doesn't, you still can't be recording or transmitting a video on the device. That's still permitted outside that 100 feet, but you can be on your phone if you need to check the ballot measures, things like that. Or you just happen to be in line and you want to play Candy Crush. Then Senate Bill 985, this one allows us for the countywide polling locations to go ahead and combine our precincts again prior to the calculation of the 50%, which now drops our minimum number of locations down from the 347 that we saw last November to 212 this November. Then Senate Bill 2166. This made a lot of modifications to the logic and accuracy testing and tabulating testing for the public test, most of which we were already doing, but this actually codifies a lot of the steps and procedures that we were doing. And the big thing that it did do is it did mandate the logic and accuracy testing for the poll books. That was something we already did, but now it's in law that it must be done. And they also defined what a representative sample was. Before it just said representative sample, there was no definition. Now there is a definition of what a representative sample is, and that is 10 of each voting device or 5% of each type of voting device to be used in the election, whichever number is smaller. So that is now how a representative sample is defined in law. Senate Bill 2964. This one makes changes to the absentee ballot by mail. When we receive that carrier envelope and there's a defect on the carrier envelope, which could be with the last four of the SSN, it could be the driver's license number, or it could be a signature, it now requires that we send them a correction form within 2 days, and the biggest change there is we are no longer allowed or authorized to send that carrier envelope back to the individual. It will be maintained with elections, and they can either fill out the correction form and send that in, or they can come in person and correct whatever the error was on that carrier envelope. House Bill 493, this just modified some of the ineligibility criteria for our poll watchers. Not to get too much into it, basically, if you're a felon, you cannot be a poll watcher. House Bill 521, this one made extensive changes to the curbside voting process. So it could extend the time it takes to do curbside. There is now a requirement that the person that is going there for the curbside has to fill out and sign a form attesting that they cannot physically enter the polling location. And then there's some requirements for filling out forms if the poll worker has to assist the voter. And assist is not just bringing the equipment out so the person can vote, but they actually need assistance from the poll worker to help make selections. Then there must be 2 poll workers present, and there's documentation for that. And then additionally, if a driver assists 7 or more individuals during for curbside voting, there's a form that they must fill out and sign as well. And then another big one, and this is for everybody that electioneering, it creates a 20-foot bubble around that curbside voting parking space that no electioneering can occur. So even if the curbside space is outside the 100-foot zone, there's a 20 feet around the vehicle, and it's not 20 feet from the center of the parking spot, it's 20 feet from every side that you may not electioneer to allow that person that's curbsiding voting this privacy that they would get as if they were inside the polling location. Yes.
Okay, so does that apply to only when somebody is utilizing curbside voting, or is that always applied to a dedicated parking space for curbside voting 100% of the time?
So our understanding, and when we talk to Secretary of State, it's when a person is voting.
Okay, so it's only when somebody's actually
Somebody's actually
actively
voting,
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
But most of the staff will have it pre-marked, and I can imagine that there's going to be some misinterpretation because people will see the markers already up. But when somebody's voting, that's when they get the privacy. Then Senate Bill 1470 requires the Secretary of State to use data provided by DPS to cross-check references. So DPS gets notification when anybody from the state of Texas requests an identification card or a driver's license from outside the state of Texas. Now they must share that information with the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State must use that to then provide updates to the voter rolls. And we haven't been told completely how this is going to work yet, but I would anticipate that we will get some sort of notice from the Secretary of State saying that this person has moved out of the state, and then we can go ahead and make the changes to the voter rolls. Senate Bill 2217 did a couple of things. The big one was it made changes to the fail-safe voting. So when an individual who is already a registered voter and they move within the county, when they register, that registration becomes effective immediately. So an individual, example, on election day, who has not updated their address, has not sent in a new voter registration application, shows up, and the poll worker says, "Do you still live here?" And they say, no, I moved. My new address is this. They will be required to fill out forms, and they will now be issued a ballot for the precinct that they currently live in, not the precinct that they used to live in.
And that'll be like a regular ballot? They're not getting,
It would be a regular ballot, not a
Okay.
provisional.
and then, so the governor just put something for same-day registration on the call for the legislative session that's going on right now. Is that going to affect this, do you think, or is that separate? I haven't read the language.
We don't know if it's going to affect this or not, because These are people that are already registered, so it's not necessarily a same-day registration. We're just
The
updating.
change of address, basically, within the
Yes,
county only.
Yes, only in person or in county moves.
And it used to be if you moved within the county, you still had to wait the 30 days, right? Or
Yes, you'd
something?
still have to wait the 30 days, and what would happen is you would be given a ballot for your old precinct. So
Right.
if you moved from, let's say, Commissioner Precinct 1 to Commissioner Precinct 4, you would still be voting for the Precinct 1 race. Now, because you live in 4, you'll vote for 4.
In a regular ballot, not a provisional ballot?
Correct.
Cool, okay, thanks.
And my understanding is the governor's call is to rescind that.
Okay.
To take it back to where they have to stay in their old precinct.
So that one is TBD. And then the other thing that this does is it requires that the central count station manager prepare a report regarding the total number of ballots that were scanned at every location before those drives are read in. This was something we were already doing. The report comes off the scanners. The judges, we had asked the judges when they go to close down the scanners, they print that report and they leave it on the scanner. That had been an ask and a please do. Now it's mandated by law. What this could do is slow things down at the rally stations, because if the judges forget to do it, we're going to have to. We will catch it at the rally station. We've got procedures in place. We put them in May for the May election to catch this, so we got ahead of it. But then the judge is going to have to set up that scanner, print that report, and so it could start backing things up at the rally stations if they don't do it when they close down the site, and that could ultimately slow down results coming in. But it's a requirement to have that now. And then Senate Bill 827, this renames the partial manual count that we're so used to for our post-election hand count audit to a post-election hand count audit. The other thing it does is it requires that the in-person audit for early voting and election day is now done by polling location, not by precinct. And the absentee ballot by mail will be done by precinct, and it gives specific percentages that need to be audited, and that the random selection is now to be done by the elections department, and it wouldn't be coming from the Secretary of State. The other thing it does is it mandates that the general custodian of the election records, or myself, to designate members of the early voting ballot board to conduct that audit, and not the election staff as we've done in the past. So the ballot board is going to be required to conduct that manual audit. And then everybody's favorite, Senate Bill 2753. This bill made a lot of changes. The biggest change is it removes the gap between early voting and election day. So what you're going to have is 13 straight days of voting, 12 days of early voting, immediately followed by election day. Early voting, the number of locations, is the rules still stay the same. Election day, the rules still stay the same. The difference is, if you are an early day location, you must be an election day location, because all the equipment, everything must be used on election day. So we will not be able to, as in the past, when we would do early voting closeout and bring all those ballots and scanners back and store them under live stream cameras, and then would be able to tally and release those results at 7, we're not even going to have them to release them. So the only results that we are going to be able to put out at 7 would be the absentee, and then as election night, as those results start coming in after the polls close, you will get that. And it also changes how the results are going to be released. The results will just be released as absentee and in person. There won't be absentee, in-person early voting, and in-person election day, just absentee and in person. This also, because the requirement of 12 straight days, it's weekends, holidays, it will be the full 13 days, rain, shine, or holiday, all 13 days straight for those. Now, the implementation of this bill, it does say that it will not be implemented until the Secretary of State releases a report on the implementation of the bill's procedures. The update we received at the SOS Law Conference is they don't expect this to be implemented until sometime after the primaries at the earliest. And those are the high-level, big-ticket items that I wanted to brief everybody on that. Any questions?
On the bill you just said where the election places must stay the same, so if they have to stay the same, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking in my head real quick, there's no way to get out early voting results, because essentially it's not really early vote. I mean, it's
Correct.
13 days of election day is basically what it is.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah. Wow. That'd be a huge change. So what have you thought of what time you expect to get out the first batch of results that are not the absentee?
Generally speaking, the first batch of results that we get out is going to be about 9 o'clock.
I mean, there's going to be just wild swings.
And yeah, the thing to
Wow.
consider is that first batch are going to be the locations that didn't have a line at 7 o'clock. So your non-busy locations, you're going to get those results first. So you're going to get these small little chunks. And then as the bigger busy locations start collapsing later at night, then you're going to get the big swings in the large numbers coming in. So it may be quite the rodeo election night.
Yeah.
You said you're waiting on the Secretary of State to give guidance on this before you can implement it. Is that right?
Yeah, so they're creating a committee of different election officials, county judges, and they're all working out how is all this going to get implemented, all the different reports, because this changes a lot of things when it comes to how we report, how we conduct the elections. Something as simple as technically, because it's still early voting, the early voting location, ballot boxes have to have 2 keys, but on election day, you're only required 1 key. So you're going to have some locations that have 2 keys, some locations that have 1 key when it comes to entering the ballot box. And how do you, there's a lot. And so they're going to be working through the procedures, which is why they don't anticipate coming up with the report until sometime after the primaries or later. All right. No other questions from the board. We do have speakers on this. So, Chris and Julie Sims, was this the item you intended to speak on?
Election integrity.
Public comments.
Public comments? All right. And then Charles Wiedemeyer, were you public comments or was this what you were wanting to speak on?
Mail-in voting.
Public comments. And then, all right, so first one under item 4 I have here is TK Campbell.
You want me to time it?
Morning.
You got the time. Is it you turn timing? Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Good morning.
I believe that others of us are going to address the executive order that President Trump has put out, and that's what we're here mostly to support. Sorry, thank you. And I would say along those lines, if we did hand counting and precinct voting, we'd get election results out much more quickly. But I wanted to talk with you specifically about 2 items that need to be addressed that fall under the executive order. And that is the sequential numbering that the Commissioners Court allowed us to have for the November 24 election. It was promised that it would be transparent, with transparency and auditability, and we were really looking forward to that, and it would have been, except for I'm afraid that I'd like to be found wrong, but I'm afraid that the administration really did not administer them properly. I did 2 FOIA reports asking for the sequential numbering, where they went, how they were accounted for, how they got returned, and so forth. The first FOIA that I did, there were 91,200 numbers that were unaccounted for. So I went back and got chain of custody also through FOIA and was able to find them. But at the end, it turned out that that 1,300,000 ballots were actually purchased, which is way more than the new rule requires. So they bought a ballot for every single registered voter in Tarrant County. They used 736,000 of them. So that means 428,000 are unaccounted for and probably won't be used again. So sadly, that's kind of a waste of taxpayer money. In the future, I think it would be, and I've got all these details, so I don't have time to go into it now, but in the future, it's very important that we have these pre-numbered ballots. I think it does offer a great opportunity to be able to track those and make sure everything's done correctly, but it has to be done correctly. The second thing I'd like to address is the V drives, also the scanner tapes, which you just talked about. And so for that election, we also did FOIA requests. We do a lot of those, and I'm sure we're very popular, but they're very good about responding to us in most cases, but they can't answer questions. They can only provide documents, okay? So we requested all the scanner tapes from early voting and election day, and we were missing about 35 of them. So I went back with another FOIA and said, here's what I'm missing. Can you provide any more information? No, there was no other information to give me. So in that case, we were missing a total of 56,000 votes were reported, but were not supported by scanner tapes. So we just have some things that we really need to tighten up on and that we need to know. I know we've been told, well, there are reconciliations that we do in the back that you're not aware of, but we need to be able to get access to those. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, Marilyn Miles, it says hand count paper ballots. I'm guessing that was the next item, or is it this one that you were wanting to address? This is about the legislative changes, where you wanted to do the public comments because you didn't check say what item you wanted to do. Okay. Under item 4, we have Diana Boger?
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I am just here to say ditto to what TK just said. Also here to say that I am supporting what President Trump's executive order is going to be completely.
1 second, ma'am.
Just deal with it. Well, your time is up. Sorry.
I won't take that long.
I'll tell you what.
All right, we'll go ahead and restart that.
Just start where I was.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Again, I completely agree with what President Trump's trying to do in his executive order, ending mail-in ballots and keeping absentee ballots and all the specifics, no computers, hand ballots. And I have to say, I am a precinct chair and I am an election judge, my husband and I both, so we're involved. We're not just citizens complaining. So I would also be involved with all those changes that go around that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up under item 4, I have, this one's public comments as well. Then this one did not have a check, so I'm not, Jenny, were you public comments or were you under Jenny Blount? Oh, there you are. Public. And this one didn't check an item. Buff Kaiser, were you public comments or this item? Public comments. All right. We've got them all sorted. With that, there was no action that needed to be taken on the briefing. So now, any questions or comments from the board? All right, now we'll move into the public comments. So Denise Lunsky.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thank you for having us today, and thank you for adding the Arlington Active Center to the polling locations. And I do agree with TK that we do need to go to hand-counted paper ballots, no mail-in ballots. Thank you very much.
All right, next up, I've got Marilyn Miles.
Thank you very much. My main purpose for being here today is to encourage the board to go through the already Secretary of State approved methods of hand counting that she's already approved, because after September 21st, Tulsi Gabbard will probably issue a report on the infiltration of our voting system from overseas sources. And then President Trump will probably issue his executive order for ending voting machines, and it will be done. So I encourage y'all. I have taken 3 classes from someone. She hasn't given me permission to give her name. And in the class, she teaches all the 3 different methods. That way, y'all could, if y'all could get together somehow, you need 3 or 4 people at each training, and then y'all could take the course and weigh the pros and cons and decide which ones y'all think is the best. So I could give y'all that. I'll get with y'all and give y'all that information. But thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. All right, Charles Wiedemeyer.
Finally got in the right category. I'm glad you didn't put me at the bottom. I'm here to speak about mail-in voting. I've been an election judge. I've been on the ballot board. I'm impressed with the privacy that we enforce in election day when you're there in the polling place. I'm not impressed with what happens with mail-in votes, because if I chose to take a mail-in vote, I could take it down to the church and have a forum on how I should vote. I can hand it to my grandchild. He can take it to school and decide how I should vote. There's nothing private about it. So my point is that we have 2 different methods of voting, which is unfair to somebody. I think it's unfair to me as a personal voter to have these folks out here just taking a poll on how they should vote. It's unequal treatment. Now, I've looked at the Constitution, and I can't find anything that requires privacy in voting. But I can find unequal treatment, which is what we're getting. Now, the problem for you all is how to get the public to accept a solution to mail-in voting. And just off the top of my head, I have a suggestion. Eliminate all the privacy in the election day voting. Just let people come in and fill stuff out and show the public, sort of condition them for the fallacy of wide open voting for a portion of the population. Now, I know that's a wild suggestion, but I do know that you have to prepare the public before you can make a big change on procedure. So that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, I've got Chris and Julie Sims.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for letting us come and comment. And I just want to say thank you for all you're doing to make our elections secure, free and fair elections again in the county and in our state. I'm grateful for that. I've been waiting for this since November 4th of 2020, when it was made incredibly aware to me that there were problems far and wide with our machine voting. I have never had full confidence in them, and I can tell you now, I even more have no confidence in the machines. You can come up with all the legislation in the world, you are never going to stop the fact that electronics can be hacked. And so our elections are not going to be free and fair until we get rid of the machines. And I just want to encourage you to do that, please. It's coming down from our president, and we have the means to do it. We're going to save money by doing that, and we're going to get results faster. And more than anything else, you're going to have public confidence that it was free and fair, that our vote was cast, and read as it was cast. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of smartly piggyback on that. The way things are done, I used to think the computers and the tabulators were all great, but I've learned that that is not true. We had too many anomalies in the last couple of elections, and when you have people who don't trust the elections, you have a serious problem with your republic, and we have that now. A lot of people do not trust it. I think if we go to paper ballots, we should probably have same-day voting, but it looks like that's not going to happen. And really, voting should not be made so easy. I'm amazed we just mail mass ballots out to everybody. This republic was founded by just wonderful patriots. And I think when you just throw the ballots at everybody, it's just fraught with problems and fraud. So we need to go to same-day voting if we could, paper ballots, and hand counted. That's the best way to do this, and people will have confidence in that. We understand a piece of paper with check marks or filling in the dots, but we don't understand what all goes on in the V drives and all these things that we have to talk about. We need to boil it down to simple, and things will get better for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, I've got Jennifer Blount.
Morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to cover two topics today briefly because there's so much data on both. I can't go over everything. The first is the Fifth Circuit Court ruling, which said that we are not supposed to count mail ballots after Election Day. Now, we've been doing that for a long time, and that did not change in November. So the Fifth Circuit Court ruled that way, and we are in the Fifth Circuit. And then there was an appeal put forward, and it was knocked down. The Ninth Circuit has similarly ruled, and this topic is going to go to the Supreme Court. And I also think that President Trump is going to weigh in on this very soon, okay? Actually, when he did his executive order in March, he referenced the Fifth Circuit ruling. So that's fact. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I have copies of this for you guys that I can leave with you. The other thing I want to talk about is records, the records from the election. So what we had, I downloaded all of the records of mail-in voters, okay? So we have an anomaly where the records that were certified by the prior ballot board judge, David Lambertson, he certified 28,405. The data file said, and this was downloaded on November 22nd of 24, the data file said 27,902. Okay, so then another data file, and this is data file of voters who voted with a mail-in ballot January 7th of 25 was 25,518. So we have a situation where the votes counted, the vote numbers don't change, but the voters were removed. And so you don't have that consistency. And the discrepancy is 2,384. And I can provide all of you data on this, but not today. My printer broke. So I just want to say that we've got to tighten up our reporting because this is what the public counts on, is that we can go back and look at records and feel comfortable that the election was conducted properly and counted properly. So I think we need to put in some measures to make sure that happens. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Next up, we have Buff Kaiser.
I'm Buff Kaiser, a resident of Fort Worth, and very happy to be here today. What I wanted to bring up is, I think it's a little bit of an addition to Mr. Ludwig's briefing on new legislation, and it's referring to the President's executive order of March 25th, because he stressed in that order that it addresses all federal elections, so including those in Tarrant County. So that order applies to us, and that gives additional guidance and rules and regulations that we need to follow. So I have copies of that for you. It's well written and well thought out, and I think it will help us here. But it's also something that applies to us as we conduct our federal elections. And also it states in there that they are going to be monitoring federal monetary support for elections in accordance with people following these executive orders. So it could affect funding for Tarrant County for elections. Also, we see Denton County and Collin County, and I know you've been looking into this and visiting with them and looking at some of the steps they've taken to have hand-marked paper ballots. And it's something that the president emphasized last week, virtually twice a day. He brought up the topics of mail-in ballots and also our election equipment has just been referenced. And it's something that we see others in our area taking proactive steps. We just want to encourage Tarrant County to do that in the spirit of the comments that others made. Also, I just want to say there's a couple of people who did not get a chance to sign up to speak, who perhaps at the end, Mr. Ludwig, you might ask if there are anyone else who would like to comment. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And that actually was the last of the list. I will ask, was there anybody that wanted to speak that didn't get a chance to sign up? If we could, do we have any other forms?
I apologize if I'm out of turn. I'm having a very hard time hearing in here. My name is Mike Brewster. I'm from Rendon, Texas. Many of you have seen me before, and I'm going to be a little bit more pointed today than I have been in the past. I've been working on the election issues now for over 4 years. I'm more concerned now than I was when I started. I've never found a reason to stop looking. I've basically given up my retirement for this. If the election system, I came from a highly technical and very regulated background, was subject to oversight daily. If the election system were an aircraft maintenance organization, Tarrant counties would be shut down tomorrow. We are not compliant. The reason we're not compliant is we follow the law that somebody says is the law instead of what the legislature wrote and put into the books. We brought forward, several of us have brought forward these concerns on numerous occasions. Mine are always well documented. We've been dismissed. All of you can play a role in helping to fix this. The county commission could begin by getting rid of the countywide voting program. It's ostensibly was set up for convenience, but its real purpose was to obfuscate the reconciliation and the accountability of an election. You cannot reconcile properly an election in this county, and I can demonstrate that to you. Your corner gas station does a better reconciliation job than your election system does. The election officials can work to learn the systems themselves and to pay attention to the people that come and speak to them. The county chairs have a very important role in this that's been ignored for quite a long time. All of the election judges should be thoroughly trained in the law and should be challenging the election system to comply with it. That hasn't been done. They have simply been following what has been coming from on high, and from what has been coming from on high is often wrong. The next couple, before the end of the year, this is going to be a very tumultuous time in elections. There's going to be a great deal of changes. I can tell you right now, it's going to be a big deal. We've been here, we've been trying to tell you. We're asking for some consideration. there's a lot that can be done here on the county level, here at the party level, to make things happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, I appreciate it. Looks like we have one more speaker.
Good morning. Amy Super, I'm your presiding judge of the Tarrant County Ballot Board. I'm speaking to you completely unrelated to any of this. I would like to advocate, thank you, for myself as well as my alternate presiding judge, the opportunity to attend the sorts of legal briefings and trainings that occur usually in Austin that are provided for elections administrators and other staff within the elections administration. This is about 40 pages. This is just on the Senate bill that he was speaking of, 2753, I believe. There's a whole nother set of papers that are on all the rest of the bills that were passed into law. We don't get any special training on how to implement these and how they impact the way that we process in our jobs and the tasks that are assigned to us as part of the ballot board. No training whatsoever, aside from that which is updated, hopefully, by the Secretary of State's office by the time our next election rolls around. Myself and my alt judge spend, I would hesitate to guess how many hundreds of hours on our own time researching, trying to familiarize ourselves so that we make sure that what we're doing inside that ballot board is taking into account changes to law that no one trains us on. So I'd just like to advocate for the possibility of us being able to be better trained so that we can serve you better. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And we have one more speaker.
Hi, my name is Catherine Cano. I'm the alternate judge for the ballot board. I would like to second everything that Amy just said. Also, just for the record, Amy's really cool. I like her as our judge. She's doing a great job. But I am absolutely, completely opposed to hand-counted anything. A lot of people advocating for hand counting have never done hand counting. They don't understand how error-prone it is. Just as an example, when we first started thinking about what hand counting would look like, I think it was in 2022, we did a test hand count with during public testing. And we found, we ended up with an error on 13 ballots. And the error was when we went to the ballot board to do reconciliation, or actually it's called adjudication, we decided that a mark was supposed to be interpreted one way. And then when it went to the hand counting team, they decided it was supposed to be interpreted another way. When you have people making hand marks, it's a nightmare. You have to all be on the same page about what you're going to do beforehand. And it's just going to lead to a lot of inaccuracy and further inability to reconcile what the voter intent was. So I'm opposed to that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you for letting me speak. This is just a small fraction of the people out here who share the opinions that you've heard. And Trump has made it clear from the time he was running for office to what he stated over and over again. Last week, said it as clearly as he could say it. It's not coming from someone who lost, it's coming from someone who won, that mail-in voting and electronic voting are compromised systems. And Tulsi Gabbard, head of national intelligence, receives information from 18 intelligence agencies, has said not only is voting, electronic voting compromised, but it has been compromised. It is being compromised. And Trump has signaled through his executive order in March that more detailed changes are coming. He suggested they're coming in the next few weeks. And these changes are going to include the elimination of electronic voting, watermark ballots, sequential ballots, and ending of mail-in voting. So if there's any doubt in anybody's mind that electronic voting can be compromised, you don't have to go any farther than the words of a senior vice president with Hart, our election manufacturer. He said in a commissioner's court election workshop in 2023, his words were, "I fully admit, and anyone who says something is not hackable is a fool, so anything can be hacked." And if anything can be hacked, these are just simple computers. These aren't complex, heavily secured systems. Trump and Gabbard are saying they have been hacked. It demands a response from us. So one thing I would caution is before we spend any more money on our electronic voting system, let's wait and see what the executive order is that comes down. I think we're going to hear this based on his suggestions in the next few weeks. And the second thing to that is I think we need to insist that our election administration staff is fully committed to complying to with these executive orders. It's essential that we carry out the orders that are coming from the people who know more about this than anyone in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is that all the speakers? Everybody get an opportunity? Were you able to get the forms you needed? All right. Okay. So once you get your forms filled out, if you can make sure we get those. All right. With public comments being complete, I will, do we need to do a motion to adjourn or just adjourn? I will adjourn the election board meeting. It is 10:50? 10:53. Thank you.